Well, hello, I'm Joanna with Blissful Baby Sleep Coaching, and I'm wearing my red once again to celebrate WO3, which is a grassroots movement to partner, promote, and support women-owned businesses in the month of March. But it is St. Patrick's Day, and I am of Irish descent, obviously blonde hair, blue eyes, so I've got a little bit of green going on here. And I am talking with Sue Trace, who is a resilience and well-being coach and has deep knowledge around what is happening with our healthcare workers, with nurses, physicians, and clinicians. And the reason why I wanted Sue to come on today is we all know in this year of COVID that we've been in, that our frontline workers and our nurses and our doctors and anybody in the healthcare industry has been such an important, paramount part of supporting all of us. And because this month is all about partnering, promoting, and supporting women-owned businesses, the reality is nurses are almost their own, nurses and doctors that are female are quite literally like their own CEO and company on a daily basis, running around because each of their patients is their client, right? And so I just thought that I really wanted to talk to Sue about such an important thing, because it's such an, I just want to say thank you to all our frontline workers and clinicians and nurses and physicians out there during this past year. We're grateful. I actually was at the doctor today and I said a big, huge thank you to her too. And so thank you, Sue, for being here to talk about this important topic with us today about your multi-years in working with healthcare workers. So thank you.
You're so welcome. It's just been a role. I mean, I've been a nurse, well, I'll probably date myself now, but over 30 years, and started out working in the hospitals and then into recruitment, and then realized that I really wanted to make a difference and stay within working with healthcare clinicians to increase their resilience, their well-being, positivity in their workplace cultures. And I'm just thrilled to be here and serving such an incredible population of people who have been there for all of us, especially during this year of COVID, and really need our love and support and compassion.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when Sue and I, when I said, Sue, I really want to talk to you about this important topic as part of WO3, she started telling me some really astounding statistics regarding nurses and physicians and clinicians. So Sue, can you tell us what's going on with this special population in terms of what they're contending with these days?
Yeah, it's clinician well-being right now is, it's, I always hesitate using the word crisis, but there are many who are in almost crisis mode. Prior to COVID, there was the nurses and physicians have always had high levels of risk for burnout and even suicide. And honestly, they are one of the top fields that have the highest rates of burnout and suicide. And primarily, when you think of it, is, nurses and physicians and healthcare clinicians, they go into this field because they are givers, and they give, and they want to make a difference and give to others. But so often they don't sit back and take care of themselves as well, because I'm good. I just need to go out there and help my patients and make that difference in their lives. And the National Association of Medicine has come out with a clinician well-being report, and they started this research project back in 2019, and it was really going to go through 2020. They have now extended it through 2022 because of this great need to help our nurses and physicians that are experiencing even greater levels of burnout and suicide, unfortunately. And some of the most recent statistics have shown that over 60% of nurses are experiencing high levels of burnout, and not just burnout, but emotional distress. And emotional distress leads us to higher levels of anxiety, depression, and low feelings of self-worth.
Yeah, the self-worth part is what really struck me. You know, when you think of emotional distress, you think, okay, anxiety, depression, but there's this underbelly that is almost more daunting because we don't recognize it as a warning sign, which is this diminished self-worth, that negative self-talk that just goes on and nags you all day and it exhausts you. And what Sue told me is she said, you know, that emotional distress puts us all in, you know, especially the nurses, but this can happen to just us regular folks right now, in this fight, freeze. You said fight, freeze, or
Flight, flight,
flight,
flight,
flight, flight, or freeze mode, and that we
right,
sometimes get stuck in one of those three modes, um,
right.
and we don't even know it.
We don't. And when we're in that, we are running on high levels of stress. And, you know, there's good levels of stress, and then there's chronic stress. And that chronic stress can put us into that fight, flight, or freeze mode, which puts us more into a reactionary mode. We tend to be more reactionary. And so we are more impulsive, and we don't actually sit back and are able to kind of calm our brains and be more proactive for ourselves and what we're about to say or do. And so our ability, you know, in neuroscience they call it, can you hijack your amygdala? And your amygdala is the part of your brain that activates the cortisol, that activates this fight, flight, freeze. And if you can feel that coming on, and you can feel yourself going into that mode, if you can shift yourself and hijack your amygdala and get yourself in a more calm mode and bring forth some more positivity at that moment, you're able to really be more proactive in your approach and in your conversations with others and whatever actions you're about to do.
Yeah. And I think you told me that that's something called mental fitness. That, yeah, can you talk about that? Because that's kind of a piece I'd never heard of before in terms of stress management.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about how can we reduce our stress, how can we reduce our burnout, you know, there's all the, you know, well, you got to increase your self-care. Well, you need to, you know, make sure you're eating better, make sure you're sleeping, make sure you're going out in nature, and you're, you know, try some meditation, and you know, a lot of standard options for reducing burnout. Mental fitness is a newer field of neuroscience and positive psychology that has come out, that has research based, that has shown that in all of our, you know, when we start having those negative thoughts in our brain, that's our negative self-talk, that's our inner critic. And we actually call them your saboteurs. When you start judging yourself, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, you know, or I'm not good enough to do this, or I mean, just think about in nursing and in physicians, you know, and if you weren't able to save someone's life, if you were, you know, if you're, and then all of a sudden it's like, what else could I have done anything else? And you start to have those feelings of self-doubt. That can overtake your entire being. And that's what leads you more into burnout. That is what decreases your resilience and decreases your overall emotional well-being. So if you can recognize when these negative, you know, saboteurs, if you will, we'll call them, which live more in your left side of your brain, are starting to surface, and you can recognize it, respond to it quickly by doing what we call some mental fitness exercises. And it will shift you to your sage part of your brain, which is where it brings forth calming, peaceful, positive. It slows you down. You're able to bring forth empathy and compassion, and really be able to be clear-headed and perform laser-focused actions. And the mental fitness, how we do this is I'm gonna show you right now one of
Yeah.
mental fitness. It is activating your senses. So
Hmm.
let's talk about the sense of touch.
Hmm.
Joanne, I'd like to just show you this. If you would just take your thumb and your index finger
Okay.
and so slightly just rub them together to the point where you can start to feel the ridges. And you're focusing now just on feeling the ridges between your thumb and your forefinger.
Hmm. Oh
And if we
yeah.
did that for just 10 seconds, how are you feeling by doing that?
Well, it's helping me. I think what I realized I was holding my breath, and now I'm not. And I wasn't feeling the ridges initially, and now it's required me to tune in and stop ping ponging in my
Mhm.
mind to focus on this and slow my, and have regular breathing. And I tend to be a breath holder. I've noticed that recently. Uh, yeah. So that's like a
So there
simple exercise
So
that when
this
you can
is
feel
a little
yourself.
mental fitness exercise that you can do that shifts you out of the negative thinking, those critical thinking, the negative self-talk, the judging of yourself, perhaps judging of others, shifts you from that to bring forth your sage powers of wisdom, which is really where your more authentic self lives,
Mhm.
brings you into that calm and peaceful and empathy and positive side.
Right. And where that really like the where this is really resonating with me, right? Like we're talking about what, Sue's experience in working with nurses and physicians and helping them using mental fitness to access that compassion, that empathy, so that they can maintain their resilience and well-being because they're burning out at a higher rate than ever before, right? But for the everyday person, the mom that's exhausted, the working mom that's juggling a big project while also homeschooling her children, this struggle with the self-doubt, the beating yourself up, like you said, like the guilt, the shame, the I'm not good enough, or I can't get my act together, like all those words that we say to ourselves that often we're not even truly where we're saying. What you're saying is that we as just lay people have to be super careful too, because over time this is going to also break down our resilience and our well-being. And one of the ways out of this is to understand the power of mental fitness. And even a simple exercise like this, if you're feeling at home with your kids and they haven't napped and you're just, again, working on a project because you're at home, working from home, that you could just do this for a couple of minutes to just bring yourself back into the
Even
present.
even if you were to do this for 10 seconds,
Hmm.
even if you were to do this for 10 seconds, and and also, so you're a sleep coach. In the middle of the night, if you're not sleeping, if you wake up, how many of us wake up at 3 in the morning and your brain starts running? And it's
Yep.
all the things you didn't maybe get done that day. It's all the things you should have done that you didn't do. It's all the things on your list. It's now, how am I going to do this tomorrow? And what's going on tomorrow? And all of this, you know, self-talk running wild in your brain happens at 3 in the morning, right?
Hmm.
Which leads to insomnia. And insomnia is another indicator of leading towards burnout
Yep.
and
Yep.
decreasing our level of resilience and our well-being. So
Hmm.
even in the middle of the night, when all of this brain starts to activate, pausing and just, even if you were to just do this, and this is just one of many mental fitness exercises utilizing your senses in the
Hmm.
middle of the night, it will throw you into sage, it will calm you, and you will be able to go back to sleep. And it's like talking to those negative voices, talking to all those, you should have done this, you go, oh, how are you going to do this? Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for being there. I don't need you right now. I am going to go back to sleep so that I
Right.
do have the stamina and the well-being to be able to do what you need to do the next day.
Right. And another thing we talked about earlier that was really fascinating to me, because, Sue works with a lot of, she works within organizations, like health, hospitals, and doctors' offices, obviously, right? But if you think about it, a workplace organization, a nonprofit, an office, they can have this structure where you kind of have, like you were explaining, like there was the high performer. And then, so can you talk about that? Because that was super interesting about how workplace environments, there's like this certain hierarchy that's going on and how that relates to resilience. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I do a lot of work with teams, and the overall goal with teams is to, and well, let's just talk about how many of our teams have gone virtual, right? And there is a lot of issues with decreased resilience and well-being and decreased engagement.
Yes.
And so going in, if a lot of my coaching is all based on underlying principles of neuroscience and positive psychology. And Martin Seligman was the founding father of positive psychology and wrote the book Flourish and Authentic Happiness. And he identified that how much positivity affects and increases our workplace culture. And so, if you take a team of people working together, chances are you're going to have your few that are what we call flourishing. They're highly engaged. They're your positive influencers. They're ready to, do whatever needs to get done. Then you've got your middle 50%, which is the average of any workplace team, that are really languishing. They're just kind of showing up, coming to work, clocking in their hours, collecting their paycheck, going home, not engaged. Then you have your certain percentage of you can call them whatever you want, but your BMWs, your blamers, your moaners, your whiners. Those are the ones with the loudest voices. They're usually the negative ones, and they can bring down the level of, they can increase the level of toxicity in this workplace overnight. So if you go in,
literally overnight, I've seen it happen.
Yep, overnight. And so a lot of the the coaching programs that I bring in addition to bringing and weaving in the mental fitness, is a program called Propel, where we're going in and we are working with our managers first, and then we're working with their team of positive influencers, coaching them to be able to become aligned with, are they working in alignment with their values, and are their personal values in alignment with their workplace values, and are we working harmoniously with our passions, so that it's not all about me. We're changing the culture from me to we, from I to we, and working together. What are our positive to negative ratios with our thinking? Are we maintaining that magic number of 3 positives to 1 negative? Are we able to stay out of that fight, flight, freeze, and instead of reacting, are we able to step back and be proactive in what we're working on together?
Right.
Then we building up our wells of resilience, right? And what's our overall purpose? So if you work with the manager and their positive influencers, coaching them on these principles, then coaching them on how to go out and coach their coworkers. And really what we're striving for is to create a tipping point. So that everyone is able to recognize, oh, wow, it's so much nicer to come to work and work together when we are positive with each other. We're communicating, we're transparent, we have work-life meaning, and we're really showing up as our best selves. We're flourishing.
Right.
And what happens to those BMWs? The BMWs, either all of a sudden, their voices, they thrive on attention and they're not being listened to. You're going to jump on the train and come with, or they're usually going to go and find somewhere else that they can take their own negativity to.
Right. And so just really understanding, I think that was really valuable to just understand kind of what can happen within a team. And a team can be small. A team can be 3 to 4 people. A team could be a whole organization. A team could be, a doctor's office with a team of 12 or whatever, but it's all the same. And it's all this concept of, using the positive psychology to help with to bring the tipping point back to the positive side, not the the BMWs, the blamers, the moaners, and the whiners, which is where a lot of people get stuck.
Yep, they get stuck. And they're the ones that have the loudest saboteurs running, right? Because they're not finding anything that's going well anywhere, right? So you weave in this mental fitness program, which then really helps build this positivity to negativity ratio and helps build the individual and the team's actual mental fitness to be able to really bring forth positive collaboration and communication and have empathy towards each other and compassion. And they're able to really be laser focused, and research has shown that increases work performance and high performing teams.
Right. And I've had the experience in my own life being in a really fabulous work environment where people truly were flourishing and thriving. And a work environment where that was the complete opposite. There was a lot of fear, and there was a lot of blame and a lot of competition. And so, I think now more than ever, with the changing systems of the workplace, with going virtual or a fusion coming, that these concepts are so important for employers to reevaluate and recognize there's some work to be done and there's an opportunity for work to be done, and that this can make such a positive impact. So this is awesome, Sue. So Sue, thank you so much for all the work you do to help our nurses and our doctors and our clinicians to create that positive workplace environment, because they need it the most.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Need it the most.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put in the chat here where we can find Sue. Okay, 1 second. Let me do this one. It's in it's in the notes, but I'm going to type it in one more time here. So it's Sue Trace Consulting, right?
Sue Trace Coaching.
And Sue can do all of that. And then do you have any resources on your website that they can go to kind of learn more about mental fitness? Or
yes, I do. I have a whole section on mental fitness, and that they can read more about it and see the differences, as well as the whole team coaching Propel program that I do for working with managers and teams.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I'm writing this down for you guys. So I love this. So my big takeaway is two things. One, that self-doubt can be a sign of burnout, that if that saboteur voice gets too loud, like ding, 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 that's not you just being hard on yourself. And then my second one is that maybe that if I find myself doing that, a quick fix would be, sorry, here's the camera, to do this for myself just to bring me back to the present moment. Because the point that you were making is that if that pattern starts, I will end up in, flight, fight, or freeze, which is harder to get out of. If I can catch it in the beginning, I can do this, which will bring me back over to empathy, compassion, creativity, innovation, which is where I want to be, because I want the better part of myself operating when I'm working with my clients, so that I'm the best I can be and be laser focused with them. So
you got it. You got it.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, you guys. I'm going to put this down here so that you guys can find that. I hope you guys will share about Sue and her important work. If there's any doctors and nurses out there that you want them to know about Sue and how they can help their offices or their organizations, please let them know, because nurses need more support and doctors need more support. And that's why we wanted to do this on WO3. Is to give them a little bit more love and some more resources to help them, because this is going to be another year of them working really, 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 really hard, and they're an important resource in our community, and we need to offer them, besides just a whole bunch of thank yous, they need more resources to support their own personal well-being. So thank you, Sue.
Oh, you're so welcome. We just need to sustain them all.
Exactly. Okay. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much.